Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the ThunderCats 4-inch Deluxe Grune from Bandai. Grune has been an important character in the new cartoon series. Being a former member of the ThunderCats turned traitor, Grune now works for Mumra, and is a former best friend and now archenemy of Panthro. This makes Grune a must-have figure, so let's check him out. Grune comes in the rounded blister card packaging used for the Deluxe 4-inch figures. The front features some really cool artwork of Grune on the corner. The back of that box features a look of the figure within, as well as gives us a look at some of the other figures you can now find on store shelves. Now, Grune's main feature is his single saber tooth hanging out of his mouth. One thing fairly strange about the sculpt of the tooth is that it seems to disappear into his beard. Only the sculpt, though. The sculpt of the tooth seems to just stop at the beard, but then the paint of the tooth continues to go down the beard to form the rest of the tooth. It's not really that noticeable at a glance or from a distance, but when you really start looking at the figure, it is noticeable, and it's a little strange. Otherwise, the design of the figure is pretty good. For a 4-inch action figure, it does a pretty good job of capturing the new design of Grune. His arms are large and a bit long, and his lower legs are a little skinnier and stubbier, but this seems to be the standard for the design of the bigger guys in the new series. The articulation on the figure is fairly good. Like most of the basic 4-inch figures, Grune features ball-jointed shoulders, elbow cuts, some wrist swivels at the tops of the gloves, a waist cut, ball-jointed hips, knee bends, and even ankle articulation. Now, the ankles are a little weak on this figure, so you have to be careful when standing him up and posing him. The only part of the figure that's really hindered is the head. Because of his really large beard, his head actually does not articulate at all. Now, you also may notice that Grune here has that same flaw that has plagued many of the Bandai ThunderCats figures. Those darn exposed black pins in all of his joints. Now, it's not too bad on Grune, as only the shoulders are the most obviously shown, but this is still something that I'm hoping Bandai will correct. Now, the thing that makes this a deluxe figure is the large accessories that he includes. First up is his large spiked club. The handle of the club is a little soft, but the spiked parts are made of a harder plastic. Because of its size, you do have to find the right way to get Grune to be able to hold it and keep his balance. Unfortunately, his articulation does not allow him to hold the club with two hands. Now, that club has an action feature that is activated by the Thunderlinks feature. Grune has that same small square magnetic piece on his back as all of the other 4-inch figures in this line. When you hold the club up to this magnet, a spring-loaded mechanism inside pops, causing the staff to extend. So now it's even bigger than it already was. As another accessory, Grune also includes a bow, an arrow, and a quiver. Now, the quiver cannot be worn by Grune. It's actually meant just to stand on its own. It's got a fold-down leg so that you can prop it up. Then you can holster the arrow inside. Now, you can also clip that arrow on the bow via a small peg. You can also see that the bow features holes on either end. This is so that if you want to, you can actually string your own string on the bow. Toys can't actually come with strings on them anymore because it's a safety hazard. If it actually had a string, Bandai would have had to glue the arrow to the bow. So I think it's kind of cool that they went this route by allowing you to add your own string. Now, here's the only real issue with this. Because of the bulky body on Grune that limits his articulation, there's no good way to have him hold this bow and arrow as if he's firing it. In fact, there's not a lot of good ways to actually pose him with the bow that looks proper. It's really a shame because the bow and arrow are cool accessories, but they become completely useless for this figure. Alright guys, it's comparison time! Here's the new 4-inch Grune standing alongside the vintage Grune from the LJN toy line. You can see the difference in the character designs between the two. Grune is a really cool character in the new series, and this is a pretty good figure of him. If you're collecting the 4-inch line, then this is a must-have piece for you. Now, my only real complaint is that I don't quite understand why this couldn't just be released in the standard figure line. You can go ahead and just scrap that bow and arrow accessory since they don't really work well with this figure, and you could have just packaged Grune with his club in the basic line. He is still a pretty cool looking figure though, and like I said, if you're already buying the 4-inch figures, he's one you're definitely going to want to add to your shelf. Grune is available right now in stores, so happy hunting, and until next time.